Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode 1 of the Real Estate Exchange podcast. My name is Chris.
My name is Anthony.
And today we're talking about pool opening.
Today we opened our pool.
We opened Anthony's pool.
We did.
We don't live together.
That's true.
But I came over to Anthony's house and helped him with his pool.
Yes, and we'll walk you through how we did it, show you what we did. There'll be some B-roll up too, and just kind of talk about what's actually needed for pool opening and what's kind of a waste of money and you can pass on.
And Anthony's an expert at this, so...
A DIY expert.
Yes.
My expertise was acquired by my deep motivation to be very, very cheap.
It was a deep motivation. Still is.
Yes.
I can tell you guys this. This is a very true statement. Anthony is a cheap guy.
Yes, we say cheapone. Cheapone.
But he has a very nice pool, guys. So,
yes.
And he does a very good job maintaining it.
Thank you, sir.
I have not died swimming in it yet.
Right. Nobody caught anything.
There you
Water's
go.
always clear.
So
we'll show
that's
pictures
good.
for proof.
That's it. So that's good enough, right? So anyways, let's get right into it. First question, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Why even open the pool? Why close the pool? What's up with that?
Yeah, so we live in a winter country. We're in Canada, so we cannot keep our pools open year round. It simply just isn't feasible. So what we have to do is close it in the fall and open it in the spring. And essentially, we'll do a whole video on pool closing later this fall. But what we did in the fall was unassemble all of the lines, right? Take out all the equipment. And the most important thing when you close the pool is you've blown out all the water out of those lines so nothing can freeze and burst your pipes in the winter because we get sub-zero temperatures here, right? So now when we're starting the pool in the spring, we have to open it. So what you start with is pretty much unassembled pool equipment and lines full of air and some antifreeze actually.
Oh, there's antifreeze in the lines.
Yeah.
But it's in the
skimmer.
In the skimmer.
Yeah.
So in the skimmer, there's like a little reservoir you have to fill.
Exactly.
Really? See, these are things I never knew about, guys. I never wanted a pool. I never grew up with anyone with a friend who had a pool. So this is all new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Never thought about this. So wait. So the skimmer basket, right? The skimmer that's something I learned today. Well, rather, today.
Yeah.
Is where all the gunk kind of washes into because you
Correct.
have jets in the pool feeding it with water.
Correct.
Right? And you kind of have this swirl going with with those jets.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the day, the night, whatever, throughout time, gunk, bugs, leaves, etc.
Exactly.
They make their way into these skimmer baskets.
Yes.
And that's the collection for not only the waste, but also water gets in there, obviously.
Yes. So
and that goes back down into
the pump.
the pump. So that's what. So and the pump pumps that through.
Exactly.
And that's why you have antifreeze in it as well, because the pump you want to avoid. It's just a precautionary measure, I guess.
Yeah. So there's like I'll build on that a little bit. So a healthy pool, a healthy functioning pool, has 2 return lines. Okay. So there's your main drain at the very bottom of the pool, that hole you see at the bottom. And then there's the skimmer drains. Some pools, actually massive pools, have multiple skimmers. And those lines all connect.
And you have?
I just have one.
And his pool is massive already, so...
And actually, my pool, my main drain has been condemned. So before we bought the home, there was a break. That pipe broke. And so instead of fixing, which is a very expensive repair, they actually just condemned it. So they closed the main drain. So the only return I have on my pool actually is the skimmer line.
So you actually have to watch out that the pump doesn't
Correct.
run dry, yeah?
Correct. So that's why I'm always a little bit careful with the water level. I never let it drop below the skimmer line because then my pump would be dry pumping and it would ruin my equipment.
Overheat, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So water comes in from only my skimmer line, but if it was a healthy pool, it'd come in from my main drain as well. And then, like Chris said, it goes through the circulatory system, so it pumps into the sand filter, then gets chlorinated, and then goes through the heater on its way out through the jets. And the jets, I point them at an 8 o'clock time, so kind of like down and to the left. And the reason for that is by pointing all of your jets in the 8 o'clock direction, you make a nice little whirlpool that pushes everything, like you said, back into your skimmer. So you get the whole flow from start to
And the
finish.
skimmer is actually positioned nicely in your pool.
Yes.
Like it's like Anthony's pool. I guess we'll put up. Anthony put up an image when he edits the
For
video,
sure.
But Anthony's pool is kind of a. It kind of looks like a. I was gonna say a bubble, but
It's a weird shape.
It
Yeah.
has some inner divots, kind of like after you eat a pear.
Yes.
You can imagine a pear eating at
It's
its core.
curvy.
Yeah, it's curvy. It's
Yeah.
like nice and thick. Nice and thick, but so skimmer is kind of in one of those little divots. So
Yeah.
that whirlpool kind of forces stuff into a more of a turbulent zone
Yes.
with not much flow, with not much laminar flow.
Wow.
Wow.
Those are some big words.
Big words.
Engineers, eh?
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go back to the why. So
Sure.
so the why is, okay, we live we're in a cold country, can't operate the pool year round.
Correct.
And so we have to kind of shut it down.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get into maybe that in a later episode, like Anthony said.
Yeah.
And then since we shut it down, we have to open it.
Yes.
Now, what's the process?
Okay, so right now when you start, you have lines. When I say lines, I mean the return lines from the pump back to the pool. So the jets is what you'll see. And the line going from the skimmer to the pump. Okay, it's like one big circle. Those are all filled with air. Okay, and then they're closed off. And then the skimmer itself, the skimmer basket, you pour antifreeze in because you don't want the basket to also, it's plastic, right? So it can also crack and burst. But then as like an extra added safety, I pour a little bit of antifreeze just down the skimmer intake line, and I put some backer rod, which is kind of like some little gauze or foam, just because the pipe is really, really skinny and narrow on the skimmer return. So just like an extra added layer of protection, because if that breaks, like it's a huge expensive repair. Okay. So like technically, if you blow it out perfectly fine, then you're good, right? There's nothing in there that can freeze. But just in case, you know, and I mean the little valves you use to close off the lines are like $2 plastic things. They can crack, they can break, right? So it's like an extra thing, a little bit of antifreeze. The RV ones that is like safe. You know what I mean? It's not like dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of antifreeze on that line, backer rod, close that up, and then yes. So when you've opened it, you kind of gotta push that antifreeze back out into your system. It'll just fall into your pool water. It's fine. It's the RV one, so it's technically safe. And then yeah. So as you reassemble all of your equipment, then we gotta refill all that air volume with water volume, right? So you're gonna prime up your pump, especially if you have an old pump, you gotta prime it. Otherwise, it's hard to kind of refill all of your lines just manually turning it on. So you just open the pump, has its own like housing unit with its own little like a little basket to collect bugs, debris, all that kind of stuff, right? Fill that up with water. So usually I just bring the hose in the shed with me, and I'm ready to kind of fill up my pump. And then I keep on priming it until it's pretty much refilled the whole circuit. And like you've seen the big black sand filter next to my pump. Yep. That's got like 40-50 liters of volume too, right? So just refilling that takes a couple of primings of the pool pump. Okay. Yeah. So basically put water back into like your entire system.
But you know what? That's listen. I'm not an expert, but that's probably really a good thing that you do that, not only for the safety of the pump, but like also just for the whole system, because you're actually preventing air bubbles. Yeah, and you actually see the air bubbles come out too as you're starting your pool. You'll see it kind of like burping at the jets. Burping, yeah. Just like your cooling system on your car. There you go. I wouldn't know about that, but I'll take your word for it. For those of you who know, comment below. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we know how to reassemble the equipment. Yep. And then. Did we mention the 3 C's? Yeah, 3 C's are important, right? Good, Chris. So once we've reassembled the pool equipment, then it brings you to your 3 C's of pool opening and technically pool maintenance. So that is your circulation, your cleaning, and your chemistry. So once you've got the circulation going, that means that you've reassembled all of your equipment and you set your jets to 8 o'clock. You know that you have water circulating in a whirlpool pushing into your skimmer basket. Great. Then you have to think about your cleaning. So your cleaning, when you're opening the pool, it's nasty, right? It's green, it's full of gunk. You need to shock and vacuum. You have to shock before you vacuum because you literally can't see to the bottom of the pool what you're vacuuming until you shock it, right? Oh, yeah, it's too murky. Like you can't see what's down there, right? That's nuts. Okay. Yeah, it's usually like a bunch of leaves, but you know, yeah. But then you can't shock your pool without first balancing the chemistry. So you kind of got to do all 3 on that same day. Okay. To balance your chemistry, this is where I will lose most of you, but stay with me. It's fairly simple. Okay, it's kind of like the grade 10, grade 11 chemistry stuff we did with the buffers and the pH and the litmus paper, all that stuff. Chemistry. Yeah. So basic pool chemistry. First, you balance your calcium hardness. Okay, the calcium hardness will protect the equipment on your pool. Then you balance the alkalinity of your pool water. And what this does is the alkalinity serves as a buffer to resist large changes in pool water pH. Hence the word buffer. There you go. It's like, it's literally, you know, like it's literally like a fails, like a
Fail-safe, yeah.
fail safe. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's literally the word. I was thinking about this. So I was like, buffers.
Yeah, I mean, your pool is exposed to like a bunch of different things throughout the year, right? Like rain, which is a little bit acidic, body oils, all that kind of stuff that kind of gets in there would otherwise move your pH quite dramatically. So you need that buffer in place. And the most important thing is you need the buffer there to keep your pH between about 7.2 to 7.8, because that's the optimal. It's like the comfortable level for swimming, but B, it's the optimal pH level for your chlorine to work at. Because if your pool isn't at the right pH, then you're gonna have to waste a lot more chlorine because it just won't be that effective.
How much out of the whole volume of your pool, what percentage is a buffer?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you.
But,
It's in the ppm, parts per million. It's really, really small.
Okay, it's that small.
Yeah, it's
Really?
like 80 to 120 parts per million is like,
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
And that's enough to offset, because Anthony's pool is math. How many
Yeah,
liters?
I want to say between 85 to 95,000 liters. Let's say almost 100,000 liters.
Okay, because
Yeah.
that sounds like a massive number.
Yeah, it takes me about 14 kilograms of alkalinity plus. I think it's literally like baking soda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could just grab baking soda, or do you have to buy something special?
You technically could. It's a little cheaper if you just buy them by the buckets, the pails. Yeah, so I just go to like the home store or even like Walmart actually sometimes has it, or Canadian Tire, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then 2 pails, they're like $25 each. Yeah,
Industrious amounts of
yeah,
baking
large
soda.
amounts. Exactly.
Bicarbonated sodium. Sodium bicarbonate.
Mm.
I remember. All right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So those are 3 C's: circulation,
Yeah.
cleaning,
And chemistry.
and chemistry. Not
Exactly.
Chris and Chris. Circulation, cleaning, and chemistry. All right. So now we've opened our pool.
Yeah.
We got we got all the green stuff gone.
Yeah.
We got the vacuuming done.
Yeah.
We got our skimming done.
Well, the green stuff is still there until we shock. So we balance the chemistry. So calcium hardness,
Yep.
alkalinity, pH.
Yep.
So to balance that, what you do is you basically dissolve a bunch of powder in a big pail of water, chuck it in your pool. I usually like to throw it in the deep end just in front of the jet, so it kind of pushes it all and I don't get any powder that falls and like settles. Usually like I'll put in a bunch, come back in like 2 or 3 hours with the pump running and on filter, of course, and test it. And keep on testing and testing and testing until it's like ready. Usually takes me about a day or 2 to fully level everything, like on and off. And then once that's balanced and my pH is where I want it, 7.2 to 7.8ish, then I'll shock. And when you open the pool, you triple shock, because you gotta like nuke everything that's in there.
Nuke it,
Nuke it.
not microwave it.
You nuke it. Yeah.
Not in that sense of the word, because that's like a thing people say colloquially.
Okay.
Right? We gotta nuke the food or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't
okay.
say that. That's
I
weird.
see.
That's like old timey stuff. That's not me.
That's okay.
I'm new. I'm like mildly new. I don't know. Anyways, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done with the pH.
Yeah.
pH is balanced.
Yes, and then you've
Uh,
triple shocked.
And by now, guys, this is so let's keep a tally here. So we've already reassembled the lines and everything.
Yeah.
We've primed the pump. We got the circulation going.
Yeah.
We've have the circulation. Sorry, the jets are well aimed.
Yep.
We've cleaned it up.
Yep.
We balanced the chemistry. How many days are we in right now?
2 to 3.
See, guys, this is a long process.
Yes, opening it's the longest, I'd say the most labor intensive part.
And if you're lost just listening to this, don't worry, because I am. And keep in mind you have to do this over 2-3 days. So if you're not comfortable doing this, like again, Anthony was super motivated to do this.
Yeah.
Get someone to help you. Hire these people.
Yeah.
Hire professionals rather.
It is pricey though.
I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because this is a big job. You have
Yeah.
to come back.
Okay, so the professionals, what they do is, I think they actually do it all in one day. But the difference between the professionals and when you DIY it, so I literally take out my high school chemistry set and I go and I test and I add. But what you can do, and what the pros do, and what a lot of people do actually, is they just take a sample of their water. So they'll fill up their, like a little plastic bottle with their pool water. They'll bring it to the pool store and they'll do an analysis. So they'll tell them exactly how much weight of each of the salts they need to add to the pool. Then they'll just chuck it all in one go.
Okay, so they do the whole calculation and then they just like
Up front.
YOLO it, but not YOLO, but they
Yeah.
just throw it in because they've done the chemistry calculations.
Yes.
But Anthony comes in with his little testing kit. He does a little bit of time.
Yes.
He tests, he retests.
Exactly.
Trial and error.
Exactly.
But you've got that pretty much dialed in now at this
Yes.
point. Take notes. After the first year sounds
Correct.
like a big job, but then
Correct.
afterwards it gets easier and easier.
Correct. Yeah.
So
Yeah, the pool volume's always the same, right? So yeah, once you get it right, you kind of know, okay, I need 2 pails of this, 2 pails of this, and it's
Right.
like done.
But then I would imagine that you have to come in and I would imagine you still have to.
tweak.
Your volume's not. It's constant to within a couple of liters probably, but it's not.
Yeah.
Perfect or whatever. Yeah.
True.
Okay.
True.
And now is this the same? Okay, we'll get into the next point, which is maintenance soon. But I just to kind of enlarge in the topic a little bit here, zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same for hot tubs and other kinds of
above grounds, all that kind of stuff?
Above grounds, yeah.
So the chemistry pretty much is. It's the same kind of thing. You have your buffers, you have your calcium hardness for any kind of like water equipment, let's say. Obviously, the bigger the pool, the more chemicals you need, so the more expensive the upkeep is. The higher your heating costs are too for your pool heaters and stuff like that. But to be honest, yeah, it's more or less very similar for like spas, jacuzzis, above ground and in-ground pools.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But actually, the difference is for an in-ground pool, most in-ground pools you cannot empty. Okay, you can't bring the water level more than like slightly below your jets, because otherwise, remember we talked about this the other day, like your pool can actually cave in from the pressure of the water in the ground around your pool. So you can't empty out all of your pools. Above ground pools, however, those are safer to empty. So you can just start with fresh water every year, which to each their own.
Okay. That's another good point to mention, because I had no idea that they could cave in. Because in my mind, but I guess it depends on the construction, right? Because the public pools, right? They're solid cement, concrete.
Those are different.
How you cannot lower the volume of the pool so much so that the pool can cave in. So I didn't know that pools could cave in. Because my only experience with pools as a kid was the public pool, which is cement, right? I'm guessing the walls are thick enough. You can handle the pressure of the.
That's right.
It's a retaining wall. Can handle all that.
Yeah.
It's built for that. But I'm guessing so. Most pools, in-ground private pools, that you have are just like a plastic wall.
So there's pretty much 3 types of in-ground pools, and the concrete ones that we're used to seeing and like the city pools, those are extremely expensive to make. Okay, so it's very, very rare that you'll actually see that in like a private backyard pool. Only in the richer neighborhoods of wealthier homes, then yes, you might see a nice cement blasted, sand blasted pool. That's amazing. But most pools, like I'd say 95% of pools are like the ones I have. They're cheaper material. They're plastic. So yeah, it's a vinyl liner, and there's some kind of frame behind it, but that frame is not strong enough whatsoever to support and withstand the ground pressure. So you cannot empty that pool, because you need the water on the inside to push out on those walls to prevent it from caving in. If that makes sense.
Oh, of course, yeah. That makes sense. Wow. Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I would have messed that up.
Yeah, there's some crazy videos on it. Like maybe we'll put some B-roll up of a pool caving in. It's a pretty scary thing to watch. Yeah. I kind of love watching those videos on Instagram. Those catastrophes. It's scary.
It gives you fears. Fuck. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Last point, maintenance. So
yes.
So now the weekend after, whatever, you have your first barbecue. Whatever,
yes.
You invite everyone.
Water's nice and blue.
I'm skinny dipping. Everyone's happy.
This is a family home, Chris. There's no skinny dipping.
All right. Okay. That we know of. So we come over, but then the weekend after, oh no, there's a leaf that falls on the pool. Oh no.
Yeah.
George the rabbit is now swimming with the fishes.
Yeah.
You have to clean it.
Yeah.
What else is involved in maintenance besides cleaning?
Yeah. So luckily, if you balance your chemistry right up front when you open the pool, it honestly will hold you through the entire summer. You don't have to touch alkalinity, calcium hardness, or honestly even pH for like the next 4 months. As long as you don't have like heavy acid rains or anything like crazy out of the ordinary, that's pretty much good. So then all you have to do for maintenance is, remember those chlorine pucks that we floated? I'll put some B-roll up there too.
Right.
Yeah, so you float fresh pucks. I change those usually twice a week because they dissolve. And then I try to do it every day. It's just quickly to empty out my skimmer basket, because a bunch of leaves and like little bugs and stuff collect in there. And then ideally, once a week, you either brush your walls or vacuum.
You brush your walls?
Yeah, so remember that really long stainless steel rod I had with the brush attached, or like the net? Yeah, because the algae is like a biofilm, right? Kind of like on our teeth, like little biofilms. So by brushing, you break up the biofilm.
That's nuts. Okay.
And you knock the algae back into the water where the chlorine can kill it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, so you either brush or you vacuum. So we're lucky we have a robot vacuum that the previous owners had left us. That really cool one that you threw in the water there.
That was sick, guys. You gotta. Yeah. I think if we filmed that, that was sick.
It's 4x4. It's 4-wheel drive, so like climbs the walls and everything. It does little backflips
like
if it falls. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's really handy. So yeah, having a 4-wheel pool vacuum is a lifesaver. Big quality of life upgrade.
Anthony was like, let's just throw in the robot. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
It's like a Roomba for your pool.
Yeah, oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
But you don't have to program it or anything. You
No,
just
no,
throw
no.
it in.
Exactly.
You just threw it in, it just went.
Yeah.
It just does the thing. It crawls up and down. It goes, deep, deep, deep,
Yeah.
clean, clean, clean. And it scrubs your walls.
It's really good. It's really good.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, so
Alright.
that's the maintenance going forward, and it's pretty easy to do. And then I would say, like, if I had a weekend of pool parties, then I might need a shock, just because like a lot of people in the pool will kind of disturb and use up all the chlorine. Sure. Yeah. So then, like, as soon as you see like a couple little spots of algae showing up in the corners, yeah, that's a good time to shock your pool. So before you shock, always brush it, because once again, you got to break up the biofilm, like dislodge it off of your walls and push it back into the water. And whenever you shock, it's always best to do it at sunset, because the sun will eat up and burn your chlorine. So you never want to shock it like in the middle of a sunny day. Do it in the evenings.
It's funny how most outdoor maintenance is center around dusk and dawn, like
Grass, yeah.
like watering your grass
Sure.
and stuff. You don't want to shock.
Video
shocking
2
different
on
way.
the Real Estate Exchange podcast is lawn care.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Already out, depending on when you're
Depending-
watching.
yeah.
Episode 2 guaranteed.
Yes.
Just like water. You don't want to mow your. You don't want to water your grass
During the day.
midday.
Yeah.
When it's like blasting heat, you're
Correct.
gonna shock it. Well, not in the same way, but you're
I
gonna
got you. Yeah.
heat shock it rather.
Yeah.
Different kind of shock. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned again. I'm adding points as we go here.
That's fine.
Next point. You had mentioned the chlorine pucks.
Mhm.
What other products do we need?
Yeah, so technically for opening, you need just your salts to set up your pool chemistry, and then you need your shock, and then chlorine pucks for the entire season. In theory, if you need to open your pool really, really fast, you can use, it's either a flocculant or a clarifier. Okay, those are two different products you can use to like clear your water within 24 hours, let's say. I open mine, and I try and open it like pretty much a week before I plan on doing anything with it. So I just let my filter do its work, and I leave it on 24/7. It'll clear the water for me. But when you're opening from a winter when the water was green, for example, like after you shock it, it'll be nice and blue, but it won't be clear because you have a bunch of dead debris and like dead cells in there, right? So either you do what I do and just let your sand filter run, and in like 3-4 days, then it completely clears it out, or use a flocculant or a clarifier. So what a flocculant does, it pretty much binds all of like the dead cells and debris in your pool and makes it heavy so it sinks to the bottom. But then you have to manually vacuum, because you'll see like a layer of like gray cloud kind of on like the bottom 2 inches of your pool. It's all the crap that just kind of got like weighed down. Or the easier one is the clarifier. So you just pour, it's like a couple hundred milliliters, you just follow the instructions on the bottle directly into your skimmer basket. And what that does is it kind of does a similar thing. So it thickens solutes in your volume of pool water so that they get picked up by your sand filter faster. Okay. Yeah, and then the only thing with that is you have to be really careful, because when you use clarifier, you will increase the pressure on your sand filter quite quickly and quite dramatically. And then what you have to do is backwash to bring down that pressure. Otherwise, you can damage your equipment. Okay, so if you're going to use a clarifier to clear your pool fast, that's fine, but you have to be on top of your pressure gauge and make sure that you don't go past whatever the safe amount is for your hardware, which can vary.
Interesting.
Yeah. A lot of stuff, a lot of parts.
Honestly, I hate the pool aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I love the machinery aspect of it. Well, I was looking at Anthony's pump, and it was a work of art. Not really, but it was so cool. Manifold and everything. The inlets and outlets, how you can manage, like they can like manually direct flow and stuff. I thought that was really sick.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's all for today.
That's it. Yeah, it's pool opening.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this episode of the Real Estate Podcast. Yeah. That's it.
Cool.
Shock yesterday. Yeah. Cool. It's like a GoPro. What is a GoPro?
It is a GoPro.
That's awesome. Is it filming?
It's fun.
Cool. Yeah, so this is pretty much the last step here. So yesterday I reassembled the plumbing, and then you got to go to your 3 C's of pool opening, right? So you got to check your circulation first, make sure that everything's pushing, set your jets to 8 o'clock so you have a nice little whirlpool effect going, so that your chemicals mix. Basically they're pushing towards your skimmer, right? So this one pushes this way, that one pushes that way, so you get a whirlpool that pulls everything into your skimmer basket. Then you got to balance your chemistry. So for chemistry, you balance your calcium hardness first, then you balance your alkalinity, right? You gotta make yourself that pH buffer, and then you balance your pH. And once all three of those are done, you can shock your pool. And this is a pretty big pool, so we triple shock it. This is almost 100,000 liters of water. So we use 6 bags of the chlorinated granular shock. I'll show you those in a bit. And now this is the day after, and we're just doing the last vacuum here to get the rest of the leaves out. Any questions, Chris? I can see a timer, and it says like there's like a battery sign, and it's recording. I can tell it's recording. There's a red light too. Yeah. So okay. So when you're a pool owner, you have to keep an eye on your pressure gauge there. You have to keep an eye on that. So most pools run between 15 and 22-ish PSI. And what happens is when that goes up about 5 or 6 points past your regular amount, you'll notice that your sight glass gets dirty. Okay, so the water in there is usually murky and unclear. That's when you have to backwash. Okay, so backwash, resets your lines, resets your sand bed, clears everything out of there, and then you see that your pressure comes back to normal. And don't let the pressure build up because that can be dangerous, it can harm your equipment. Yeah.